I really like this quote where Edison explains the essence of being an entrepreneur as I see it. An entrepreneur is a person that finds ways that work. And other ways. And entrepreneurs seem to look upon failure not as failures, but just another way that didn't work. I try to ignore him. It's a bit difficult. I'm very glad to see all of you here tonight, and I'm very happy to be here. My name is Cecilia Svensson. I am a writer and a lecturer. That's a really tough word in English. I write and lecture about alcoholism, or preferably sobriety. It's not like I'm pro-alcoholism. I think we need more of that. I work with sobriety. But you can be calm. I'm not going to talk about that tonight. I'm going to talk about the metadata of my work. And WordPress is one of my greatest tools when I do my day-to-day business. And I am a lone entrepreneur, a solo entrepreneur. And I use WordPress and a lot of other tools, and I'm going to share with you today what kinds of tools I use, some of them anyway. And then I'm going to talk about some of my plugins that I use in WordPress, and I will finish off about how to publish your own book. And let me check my time. It's a bit after 8. We're a bit behind schedule, right? Okay. So it may be no problem. Okay. If you have to leave, just leave. I'll understand. So when I saw this group, Meetup, WordPress in Stockholm, I was really, really happy because it's something that I would enjoy to come and be a part of as a participant in the audience. That was my plan. It took like 5 hours or so, and it was filled up. So it was like 30 people on the waiting list when I found it. And I think I saw it the same day or something. Then I saw this. We are currently looking for speakers. I saw a way in. So I called up Stanislav and said, hey, what kind of speakers are you looking for anyway? So, and he explained to me the great idea that anyone could apply a subject, and you in the audience could vote. So thanks for that. Without you, I wouldn't be here tonight because it was full when I saw it. So thank you very much. So my first piece of advice for this evening is that you should always ask. If there's something you want, dream about, long for, want to have or do, ask. You just might get it. I was happy for a while until he told me about this streaming thing. Then I wanted to first kill him and then die. So I've been to therapy sessions for a week now. I have a couple of friends in the audience who will take care of me if I faint. You should always ask. And I really like the quote of Anthony Robbins, you know, Tony Robbins, where he says, if you see somebody who has something that you want, they weren't lucky. They did something. So get off your butt and do and ask. That's my advice for you. And I have a great example from my own life. This is my second book. I wrote my second book, and I had a dream that I wanted to publish, to make an audiobook out of it. And since it's my book, it's my story, it should be me reading the audiobook, right? Well, at the time I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and I have a favorite reader. It's a Swedish actor, and one day I just got the idea, what if he could read my book? And then I fought this, you know, the devil that says it could never happen, it will never work, how are you going to do that? For like 6 months or so. And then I figured there's really only one way to find out for sure. I need to call him and ask him. So somehow I found his telephone number. I called him up. I stumbled on every word I had to say to him and explained to him what I wanted. And he said, yes, I would love to do that. Okay, great. So here I have now my audiobook with him, Niklas Falk, reading my book. Easy peasy. No, it wasn't that easy. It took a long time, but it was really, really great. And if I only had dreamed about, oh, I wish that could happen, I would still be in my living room wondering what it would be like. So ask if you want something. You might regret it if you get it, but... So just some words about WordPress. This I found confusing in the beginning. The two different worlds and what they mean. So just to be sure that we are on the same base here. It comes in two different packages of ways. WordPress.org and com. WordPress.org, it's the free world. It's where you can change anything you want to. You can add any plugin you want to. You can change the source code, do anything you like. There's no hosting provided. You have to take care of that yourself. So choose a provider for that. And the WordPress.com, hosting is included, but you're not totally free and you cannot do whatever you want. You can choose between the plugins they have selected for you. There are like 20,000 of them anyway, so I guess you'll manage, but that's the truth. I really like the thought of the free world, so I am on .org. And I've chosen Lupia to host my site. I chose them for 3 reasons. They have support every day of the week. And as an entrepreneur, every day of the week can be a work day. And I really needed that, especially in the beginning. They support WordPress itself, if they have the time. And every time I've needed support from them regarding WordPress, they have been able to help me. And 3, they have their servers here in Sweden, and I really like that. They are in Västerås, not in Ukraine or whatever. When I first started out, I used the standard 2000 themes, some different versions of that, and it was fine, but I wanted to move on, and I went to Theme Hunt. Have you ever done that? Like a gazillion different themes out there. And I wanted something simple, and I found this really, really beautiful, as I think, theme called Graphene. It's built by this Japanese gentleman called Takao Utsumi. If you're watching Takao, because I tweeted it earlier and you answered me, so hi. Takao, he has built this beautiful theme. And I'm not very fond of Swinglish things. It's either English or Swedish, not both at the same time. I'm all with you there, Eric. So I wanted to translate this theme. I've never done that before. It was really easy. I used Poedit, and I contacted and wrote to Takao and said, I will gladly contribute my language files to you so you can include it to your theme. And he did that in the next release. So now Graph is available in Swedish. And I really like that idea that we all can be a part of a community where we can contribute and help and give back something, because he gave me Graphy. So I was very happy to do that. And this is what Graphy looks when it comes to me. I have one English site page on my site, and this is what it looks like. If you haven't already, I guess everybody in here have, but if you haven't hooked up with Google Analytics, please do. Make sure you do. You don't have to understand everything. I sure don't. I don't understand half of it, but I connected my site to Google Analytics early on, which gives me ability to go back and take care of that data later on as I grow into this. It helps me. And I also like Joost a lot. When it comes to SEO and search engine optimization, I think Joost has excellent guides to explain that, how it works, and their plugin is excellent. It helps me in a lot of ways to use that plugin that we heard Gertrude talk about earlier. Really, really great. And it's easy enough for me anyway. I'm not that techie. So every summer I have a summer project for myself and my business, and I had the SEO project a few years back. And then I spent a lot of time on this site, Pineberry. They have a great service. You can enter a URL and the search word you would like to be found with. And then you get like a report card. So you can get 100 score, that's max. And I got like 45 in the beginning. And they give you feedback, what you can do and change to get a higher rating. Because we all have sites to communicate a message to visitors. And we want to be found. It's a good thing to be ranked high when people search. This in combination with writing good content, of course. Because if your content is crap, SEO won't help you make good business. So you need to have like a balance there. Dig into this. Something about different tools I use every day. People sometimes think I'm very organized and that I remember everything. It's because of this elephant. I use Evernote for everything in my life. Everything I want to remember, every blog article, to-do list, everything. So it's not me, it's this elephant. This in combination with Symbaloo, which really gets me through my linked lists. I have a graphical memory. I can visualize and see everything in pictures. So long linked lists don't help me. But with Symbaloo, I can have different tabs. This is not my tab, for instance, so I'm not very interested in all of these. It's an example tab, but you can have different tabs for different subject and different colors and group them in whatever way you want. Really, really great site. And when I write a lot of blog posts. I like to attach a photo here and there, or in my newsletters. I use this site, free digital photos. And you can search in their database, which is huge, a lot of photos. And you can use their photos for free if you enter where you got it from. And you can also purchase photos from there if you want to get rid of that. Excellent site. Another site that I use a lot is Unsplash. They publish 10 new photos every day, beautiful photos. You cannot search, so it's not as easy, but you can scroll through pictures and you can do whatever you want with it. They give them away. Amazing. And when it comes to photos and photo editing, I use Acorn. Acorn is software only on Mac, I'm sorry, but it's the one I use. It's the only thing tonight that I'm talking about that actually costs something. Every other product I have mentioned is free or have a paid version, but you can use it for free if you want to. But Acorn, it's like $30 or so. It's an easy enough product for me. I have tried free ones and expensive ones, and they are too difficult for me. I'm not into that picture thing. I don't understand half of it, but with Acorn I can actually manage. Another easy tool is PicMonkey, which is an online service. And you can edit photos on the fly on the internet. You don't even have to register an account. You can just edit your picture and download it. So it's really, really good. Let's talk about connecting to other people. These are the main platforms I focus on when it comes to connecting. I don't need to introduce them to you. You're familiar with all of them, I'm sure. I am on more than these, but these are the ones I focus on. And it's quite funny because Twitter, I was resisting Twitter for a very long time. I thought it was not serious enough and it's not good, it doesn't do anything. And then I realized, how can I have an opinion about something that I don't know nothing about, because I didn't even have an account at the time. So I joined Twitter just to prove how bad it was. And it didn't take very long for me to realize that this is great. So now Twitter is the one tool that I focus the most on. It was nothing that I had in mind before I started using it. To manage my way around Twitter, I use two other tools primarily. One is called Manage Flitter, which is a tool that I can organize the people I follow and the people who follow me. I will not go into detail what it means. If you use Twitter and like that, take a look at Manage Flitter. And this is the one I heard about here. Christopher talked a couple of years back when WordPress celebrated 10 years. It was really cool. They had like a Twitter stream here showing all the tweets online, and it was really nice. TweetDeck. Twitter can be somewhat of a waterfall, too much information. With this, I can create my own streams and follow subjects that I'm interested in. So TweetDeck really helps me. Connecting. MailChimp. MailChimp. If you can fall in love with a company, then I'm in love with this MailChimp company. MailChimp is the chimp. They have produced a product that is so easy, beautiful, and I love it. Yeah, I use this product to produce my newsletters and email my blog posts and to handle downloadables on my site. And if I ever going to change career, I want to be a part of MailChimp. And you can use it for free, but it's so great that when I first started using it, I felt I want to pay. That's how great it is. It's the best thing I have heard of. And it never fails, and they have excellent support, and they're so super nice. I love you, MailChimp. And when writing is a challenge. It's easy for me to write, and especially if I can write very long, but to write good copy, that's difficult. So that's my challenge. And Copyblogger focuses on teaching that, writing good copy, writing good texts. They have tons of good ebooks about all the subjects that you're interested in if you're into writing catchy headlines, SEO, focusing on SEO, and I can really recommend that you take a look at their site. My Copyblogger, you just register your email address and you get tons and tons. And actually, when I get a newsletter from Copyblogger, usually I feel with newsletters I can, if anyone can relate to feeling it's down on the priority list or the trash can, somewhere in between. When I get something from Copyblogger, I feel, yay, I got a new newsletter. I want to read it instantly. So really, really great site. Eventbrite is the site I use when I have a lecture. I use this to make an event, and people can register to come. It's also free to use. If the event is free, they don't charge you. If you charge for the event, they take a small percentage of the ticket's price. And it's great because people can search for events going on in the area that they're in. So they can also be, you can also sort of advertise through Eventbrite. ScreenLeap is a tool I just stumbled upon one day. It's a way of sharing your screen with somebody, and there are several other ways to do that. But the fine thing with this is the person I'm sharing my screen with don't have to have a special account, don't have to download anything on their computer. I can just send them a link through email and they can see my screen. And I'm part of several WordPress groups on Facebook, for instance. And sometimes I see some person struggle with something that's either really easy and I can help them quickly, or it's something that I don't know really much about and I can help them. So I contact them, call them up and say, hey, I can help you and I'll show you. Instead of writing like 50 status messages back and forth, I'll be happy to share my screen 15 minutes and it's done. I like to do that when I have the time. Another community that I have, this is my lunch date actually. Being a writer, it's a lonely job, so I spend a lot of lunches together with Ted. And Ted's slogan is ideas worth spreading. And it's a community where people share their knowledge and ideas and thought, and I can get inspired or learn something new, which is really great. And it's also a community where I can contribute. They have talks in all kinds of languages, and I have translated several of them from English to Swedish, so there are Swedish subtitles. We all can do that. Just chip in and contribute with whatever you can. Like I said, being a writer is a lonely job, so I do what I can to network. Being here is one of those things, and One company I found last year is called Mitt Företag. They have fairs and all kinds of things for small business owners. And they have like a tour in Sweden with 16 fairs going all the way through Sweden, which is really nice. And you can go and visit. And other things this is quite surprising. I've been a member of the union since forever. And when I quit my day job to become a writer and business owner, I thought it would be natural to leave the union. But as it turns out, they have a membership for business owners. So I joined that. I'm really, really happy with that. So that's the first time I'm happy being a member of the union, which is kind of a paradox, really. Was when I was an Eventbrite, of course. I can also search for events going on and find you. And meetups, of course, meetups. Other things I've done and can recommend is taking a class in something that you would like to learn. And Folkhögskolan, their classes are free of charge, totally free. Tons of classes. I took a writing class. I wrote a book and then took the writing class. You might want to do it the other way around, but it's still great. So those were a few things about tools I use every day almost. I'll talk about plugins in WordPress for a bit. I use 32 of them. I love them all, and I will not go through them all. We don't have that time. You don't have to worry. And it was really tricky to choose which ones to talk about tonight. I chose 8. These are the 8 I'm going to mention. When I first started with WordPress, I did not have a security plugin. Luckily, I have a password policy. How many of you have a password policy? I have really great. I have really tricky passwords, long passwords. I never use the same password twice in 2 different programs or sites. So I was not hacked. But now, since installing WordPress security, I know how many attacks I have, and there are plenty of them. And there are like a gazillion settings in here, and you should really take a look at it. Or another security plugin if you don't have one already. And the screenshot I chose here is from where they block sites. If you have too many attacks from same IP number on a time period, they block them out, so you don't have to deal with them anymore. I realize now it was my mistakes that I did in the beginning that is the base for the plugins that I chose tonight. This is another mistake I did. When I wanted to remove a page or change the URL of a page, I just did. I just deleted or changed and whatever, which meant that the visitors would end up in a 404. This page does not exist, of course, since I didn't take care of that. So, but now I am taking care of it. So I use this plugin, SEO Redirection, where I can reroute URLs to the new ones. And it also shows me of actual 404 hits that take place now, so I can sort of clean up where I screw up before. This in combination with the plugin called 404 page, which enables me to create a 404 page of my own design. So instead of coming to that standard dull page, I try to help my visitor. I encourage them to contact me if there was a page they were missing, and if it wasn't just a mistype. And I also entered a site map to help them find their way around. Plugin Organizer. This is really geeky. This is a plugin for plugins. Can't beat that. And nice things you can do are you can sort the plugins in which order they are presented, and you can also group them. I don't really need that. What I really need is they can turn plugins off. I don't use every plugin on every site or every page or every blog post. So if there is a plugin I don't use on blog posts, I can switch that off for that particular part of my WordPress installation. So my summer project, I haven't used this very long, but I like it so far. My summer project this year will be page speed. So I will dig into that and see what I can do to increase that. So, and this I think will help me a lot. In most themes and in my theme, I can have a page with the sidebar or without a sidebar. And I really wanted a third option. I want a different sidebar. So this plugin custom sidebar helps me to create. I have here one sidebar which contains category and tab clouds, and another page that has a totally different sidebar, which is really great. One thing I see in the forums people often ask if there is a contact form. They really want a contact form. That's great. And I can recommend this one. I use Easy Contact Forms. You can have as many contact forms you want. I have 5 different ones. You can add as many fields as you want, and you can translate every field in what language you want. And you can have an on-screen message to the user. You can send auto-reply. You can reroute to another page. So it's an excellent contact form. Never fails. JARP, yet another related posts plugin. Just a plugin I add at the end of every blog post. So to give the reader a tip about other blog posts I've written on about the same subject. And I also have the last one here, WordPress popular posts, that counts how many times a certain blog post has been read. And I can set the frequency either per day or week or month or whatever. I have 2 different, mostly read today and this week. And one funny thing is that on both sides, the same blog post is always on top. I wrote one thing a long time ago about light beer, and it's the most popular thing on my blog. It doesn't matter how much I've written since and what subject I write about, you cannot beat this. So my challenge now is to write something that's more intriguing to people than light beer. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. And I just finished a blog 100 challenge. Can't beat this. Who knew? Who knew? And the last words on plugins is this site. I really like this site, Tidy Repo. They produce curated lists about plugins they like. So instead of going through the 36,000 plugins in the repository of WordPress, you can peek at this site and see what they like, and they explain what they do and how you should install it. Real good. So, my last section, how to publish your own book. I meet a lot of people, and most of them say, I always wanted to write a book. How many of you have thought that in here? Raise your hand. Wow. How many of you already did write a book and publish it? Okay, so this seems to be the right subject for you. Yeah. Well, you should start with writing it, of course, and then you should get a mentor. And this is a tip not only for writers, of course, but you should hook up with somebody who's done this. And I got this advice. You should get a mentor. And how do I do that? Well, you talked about that author you have in your hometown, because I don't live here. Yeah, you're right. So I called her and asked, and she said yes. You should always ask. And she gave me a lot of advice about how to publish your own book. That was really, really helpful for me. So hook up with a mentor. If you cannot find a mentor, you can look at Almi and their mentor program. They have a mentor. And if you have something else that you can contribute, you can be a mentor to somebody else too. That's nice. After that, you should always hire an editor. I did not do that for my first book, which was a big mistake. An editor really gets your text into shape. You can write and think you've written the best text ever, but they will do it even better. So hire an editor. If you can't find one, you can take a look at Författarcentrum. You can also search for professional readers, and you'll find one. Hire an editor. It's worth it. Even though you have read the text many times, even though you had an editor, you should always also use a proofreader, because there will be mistakes in your text for sure. I don't know how it's possible, but it is. Hire a proofreader. When your text is ready and you're ready to print it, you need to fix one thing first. Every book has an ID number, an ISBN number. And here in Sweden, it's the National Public Library, Kungliga Biblioteket, that issues those. And it's really easy. You just fill out a form on the internet, and 2 days later you have an email. You just say how many numbers you want, how many publications you're counting on publishing. And every media has different numbers, so these are 2. So if you're thinking about writing 1, ask for 2, so you can have 1 extra. So these are 2 of mine. And the next thing is to go to a printing house. And you also need a designer. I skipped that part, but of course you need a designer to create your design and put that number in there. I happen to live next door to a printing house. So I know her, the woman who has it, so I went in there and said, I want to do a book, can you help me? Yeah, sure. And I really like to be close to the process and be able to feel the paper they're going to print it on and that. But it's not the most cheapest way to do that. It's very expensive to print books in Sweden. If you go to Poland or somewhere else it's cheaper, but then you are away from the process and you cannot really communicate as easily. Print on demand, I have no experience of that, and it's the most expensive one, but if you're not printing that many copies, that could be an option too. When you have printed your book and it's ready and you have like 20 boxes in your home with books and you're going to sell them, you need to register your book at Bokrondellen, which is the database in Sweden where all the bookstores look for books and find books. So if you go into a bookstore and ask them, do you have this book? This is where they search. So if your book is not registered here, I would say your book does not exist. It needs to be there. It costs like 300 crowns. So you don't have to do, but you should. And if you plan to also have your book electronically, you should register it at Elib, which delivers the books to bookstores and libraries, and which is the same for audiobooks. So my book is also on Elib and all the libraries that you can find. So that's short about the process, how to sort of get your book out there. And then comes the next big thing about marketing, which I'm not going to cover here tonight, but I'll challenge the one in here that feels that marketing is my thing. Please come to the next meetup and talk about marketing. So that was my presentation, real quick. And before I leave, I want to know if there's anything you want to ask me.
Yeah, what's your technical background for getting into it?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What's my technical background before I started writing books? I'm a programmer and I've been in IT business for 20 years. I worked as a project manager also. So I haven't done WordPress at all before. I've done other things. But of course, it was easier for me to understand, perhaps. Yes?
Is there anything you're missing? Like you think that a niche that WordPress does not fill?
If I'm missing anything from WordPress? Can't think of it now. Got it all in there. Yeah. Yes?
You wrote 2 books.
Yeah.
Are they both about alcoholism or?
Yeah, I can't stop. No.
or fighting alcoholism.
Yeah. No, it's. I wanted to bring it here, but it's so ugly that I thought I'd spare you. That's my self-published book, my first book, and then a real publisher wanted to publish my book. And it was, all copies were out, so I needed to do that. And I decided to rewrite. So I rewrote every sentence and every chapter, everything, and new material. And so, but basically, it's the same book. But it's not. Nothing is the same, but it's the same book. See? But this is from another publisher. Not this, though. This is my production. Yes. Yes?
You said that you should first write the book and then contact the editor, or actually get a way to publish it. So, when you wrote the book, how long did the process take to do the rest of the steps?
Now, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I didn't mean it like that. Of course, you can contact an editor in the beginning of a project also. It just happened that before the steps I was going through, you have to have a text from the scenario I was talking about. So your question was how long it took for...
Well, apart from writing the book, how long did the rest of the process take, actually?
About 6 months or so. So when you write a book and think that you're finished with it, you got as much job left. So when you're finished, you're like halfway through. So that's a lot of job, writing a book, a lot of job. And I swore when I finished my first one, I'll never do this again. But I know I feel the same way after this session tonight. I'll never talk publicly again. And I tend to do that again and again and again. There was a question down here.
I was wondering, I think I missed when you said you had a slide that called free digital photos.
Yeah.
And before Unsplash, did you have another program?
No, those were the two.
Oh.
So free digital photos and Unsplash. And I talked about Acorn. Was it Acorn you thought about?
Yeah, you mentioned Acorn and Chickmonkey.
Yeah. You have it all, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Another question?
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.